Bring us to the next subject of templates. First of all, just a few words about templates. Templates are pre-configured objects that you would use when creating an extension, VDN, skill, agent, or a messaging subscriber. I've previously created one 9620 extension template and assigned that extension template into my London location. Let's double-click on the extension template and take a quick look on the template configuration. In here we can see the template type is set to 9620, and as soon as I'll choose the relevant type, the system would load all the relevant fields or parameters that are related or assigned to a 9620 extension. I'm going to assign my template to a location, and now I can go about and choose the relevant fields. Now keep in mind that the extension name and extension number field would be taken from the extension form itself, as when you create a new extension in ACCCM, you would have to input only the name, number, location, and template for your object. And the system will actually use this pre-configured template when provisioning the extension to my switch. I can configure an unlimited number of templates, each for each location. For example, I can go about, and if I know that in my London location, my UC users are using a class of restriction number 10 and a class of service number 3, I can go about and create a brand new extension template and assign it to the London location using the relevant parameters. ACCCM also manages extensions, templates for VDNs and skills and agents. These objects are not relevant for a UC environment, but one object that is relevant is the ability to go about and create messaging templates for a messaging subscriber. I can basically choose the class of service, community ID, and all the relevant modular messaging or messaging parameters for my messaging subscriber. So this is in regards to ACCCM templates, and again, please remember, just like any other object in ACCCM, templates would be assigned to a location. Let's talk about extensions management. I can go about and manage an extension from ACCCM. I have a few options. The first option is to use the traditional via loop config. So this is the extension preview page, and again, as I mentioned earlier, we can see the location, number, name, and template for my object. And if I would like to go about and change, for example, the class of restriction, I'll have to locate the CM options button right here. As soon as I click on the CM options button, I'm actually triggering the system to connect in real time to the switch and fetch or pull up the object parameters. So even if someone directly on the switch is changing this extension, for example, class of restriction, you would still have the ability of manage this object as the change would be visible in ACCCM. Let's do a quick example. So extension 3006 is currently assigned to my London location. What I'm going to do at the moment, I'm going to log in directly to ASA. I'm going to change and extend this extension class of restriction, and then I'm going to use the same options feature again to see whether the change is visible in ACCCM. So this is the ASA screen. I'm going to quickly log into my lab switch. What I'm going to do at the moment, I'm going to change station 3006. I'm going to change the class of service from number 1 to number 20, and I'm going to hit save. Sorry, number 2, and I'm going to hit save. If I go back to my control manager UI and hit on CM options again, what's happening in the back end, the provisioning services at the moment connecting to the switch itself, displaying a retrieve or a display command on extension 3006 and retrieve the necessary parameters. And as you see, the change is visible and reflected back to ACCCM even if it was done directly in the communication manager. Further on, that change is also visible in the ACCCM log or auditing trail mechanism. And we'll take a look at the auditing trails later on during this demo. So this is the first option of managing an extension using the traditional VIA look and feel. A second option is to go about and use the visual phone interface in order to change the extension button assignment. And again, the visual phone is an end-user application which basically allows users to go about and change the button assignment on each and every one of their extensions. Of course, assuming they have the relevant permissions to access the visual vector in the visual phone environment and do changes on extensions. So this is the visual phone web portal. As soon as you click on the visual phone button, the following screen will appear. And in here I'll have the option to go about and change the button assignment. I can see that button assignment number 3 at the moment is currently call appearance. If I want, I can go about and change it to an auto dial button. All I need to do is to locate the relevant button from my left-hand side phone button on the screen and drag and drop it to the relevant position on the phone. The system will prompt me with a message that the button is previously assigned and would I want to reassign it. And as soon as I click yes, I can see there is a new assignment to auto dial, and then I can go about and assign the auto dial number. So this is one option of using the self-service platform in ACCCM using the visual phone portal. One new cool feature in Release 7 of Control Manager is the ability to perform trace commands directly from ACCCM. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can find the trace button right here. And if I click on the trace button, the following screen appears. And I can see that I can create a new or open an existing trace. Now keep in mind, ACCCM will basically save all the trace output into the ACCCM database, so you can actually review it later on. And of course, there's no size limitation of the trace itself. You can page between, which is a huge advantage comparing to the existing management tools in Avaya. If you're tracing in Avaya an extension, VDN, attack, or a vector, you'll have to keep paging. You can't go back to a previous page. Further on, you can't see any previous traces that you did in the system. ACCCM introducing the ability not only to page between different trace screens, but also to save it directly to the database. Further on, using the security engine, you can create users and assign them the ability to view only existing traces rather than invoking new traces on an extension, for example, or a vector itself. So in this case, I'm going to choose an object. It's a station. My location would be London. And 3006 would be my extension number. I'm going to make sure to use the log to DB feature to go about and save the trace output into ACCCM database. And as soon as I hit play, ACCCM in the backend will connect to the switch, perform a trace command, and start pulling or displaying the data on screen right here. So unfortunately, this is a lab system which is currently not connected, so there's no live data to go through. But if I would trace it and make any calls with the extension, I would see them on screen here. I can page between two of them, and clicking on the stop button will provide a screen that will let you save it into the database. So let's call it London 3006 trace. And my trace is now saved to the database. So again, this is a new feature in ACCCM Release 7. The ability to trace objects directly from ACCCM, the ability to save the trace output into the ACCCM database, paging capabilities, and read-only capabilities for traces that were done in ACCCM itself. Before we go about and switch to our limited users, let's talk about dial plans. And this is a huge feature in Release 7, and I can't really stress out how big it is. The ability to go about and create a multi-range dial plan. So in previous versions of ACCCM, you have the ability to configure a dial plan and assign it to your location. However, the dial plan must be flat. Release 7 introduces the ability to go about and configure multiple or discontinuous ranges for each and every one of the objects. Let's take a quick look what is configured under extension, for example. I can see that extension range from following to following range is currently assigned to the Frankfurt location, and we're using the range management feature. As we can see, we have three features in here, starting with range management. Range management basically tells the ACCCM that every time you want to go about and create a new extension under the Frankfurt location, ACCCM will automatically allocate the next available number from the predefined range for that extension. So you won't even have to remember what number is available for you guys to use. Just click on Get Next Available Number, and the ACCCM will allocate the next available one from the predefined range. So that stands for range management. Another option is to use the in-range feature. The in-range feature basically allows the user to input the object number itself. However, as soon as you click on the Save button, that number would be checked against the ACCCM data definitions. If the number belongs to the predefined range, the ACCCM will go about and provision the object successfully. However, if the number is off range, ACCCM will introduce a message on screen stating that the number is off range and we must choose another. And one of the big features in Release 7 is actually the ability to configure discontinuous range for each and every object. For example, if I'm using a different range and another discontinuous range for extension, for example, from 3.00001 until 3.0099, I can go about and configure it in ACCCM, and now I can manage multiple ranges for the same object under the same extension. And again, guys, I can't stress out enough how huge is this, because think about it, in most environments, even though we really want to keep the dial plan of the switch clean and organized, in most cases, dial plans would be a mess on the switch. You'll have ranges going all over the place for same or different objects. And in Release 7 of ACCCM, the multiple range feature for each object will basically eliminate the need for any messy workaround or messy configuration either on the switch dial plan or on the ACCCM dial plan itself. I'm going to take a quick look under the license tracking portal. I'm going to again log in as my ITNV account, which has full-blown permissions to access everything on the switch. The first tab that we'll see is the Settings tab regarding refresh rate and the startup page. I'm going to go about and click on Dashboard, and in here I can see a real-time view of the license capacity or license usage in my environment, and this is the previously configured switch running Release 601. I can go about and compare between different features right here on these two graphs, and I can see the license usage on a real-time view. If I want, I click on the historical tab, and I can go about and issue license occupancy or trunk reports for each location on a specific systems or specific point of time. Further on, and this is, guys, a new addition to Release 7, you'll have the ability to go about and see the occupancy measurements on your switch, and you can see the trunk measurements on your switch. This is quite cool and pretty impressive, the ability to see a real-time and historical view of your trunk measurements, trunk capacity, and occupancy measurements. So this is just in a nutshell the new additions to the license tracker portal in ACCCM Release 7, which introducing the ability to track the trunk measurement usage on your switches or the occupancy measurements on your switch itself. And of course, this is fully integrated to the ACCCM notification engine, so you can basically go about and proactively send notifications on trunk utilization, occupancy measurements, or license capacity, license usage capacity. So going back to the ACCCM main administration portals, under the subscribers tab, we'll go about and create a new subscriber, a voicemail subscriber to a user, whether it's an extension or a user itself. We'll have the ability to use predefined values or to use the advanced values in order to choose each and every field. As soon as I hit save, this new subscriber will go about and be provisioned into, in this case, the modular messaging environment. Another thing I want to stress out is the ACCCM has a two-way synchronization process, very similar to the synchronization process between ACCCM and Communication Manager, or ACCCM and AACC, for example. You have a two-way synchronization process between ACCCM and unified messaging platforms. So even if someone directly on the modular messaging system is adding a new subscriber, ACCCM will still have the ability of managing this subscriber as the ACCCM sync service is configured to go about and synchronize from the MM, modular messaging, in a two-way synchronization process. So even if objects were added directly in the modular messaging environment, they would still be visible and manageable from ACCCM. Right, so now I want to go about and take a look at one of our users, the UC user or the UC admin under the London location. The first thing I would like to see is the available applications that are assigned to my user. So this guy is currently assigned to the ACCCM app, the Visual Call Flow Designer, and the Communication Manager. And again, this is a subset of permissions within ACCCM rather than a login on the switch itself. Under the Permissions tab, we'll find a reference to each and every one of the user applications, whether it's ACCCM, which is currently assigned to the UC admin role. And again, the UC admin role enables him to see only specific unified communication-related objects within ACCCM. The visual vector role is basically a basic admin that can do only a view on a vector and a view on a route to number, and also change or update only the route to number step. And we'll log in in a few more minutes with this guy with the UC London user and take a look at the permissions impact. Under groups to view, we'll basically inform the system that this user, the London admin, can see only the London site, which means only the London department, teams, and users would be visible for him. The Frankfurt, Galway, and Moscow locations are out of the scope for this user permission level. That would be invisible or inaccessible for the London admin accounts. I'm going to skip skills to view and VDNs to views. They're not relevant in this UC session. I'm going to focus on vectors to view. ACCCM has the ability to assign or to grant user access to specific vectors within the platform. For example, out of, I don't know, 999 vectors, I want this user to access only 2, the London vector and only the attendant vector itself. So once I choose vectors to view and hit save, the user would be able to go about and access these 2 vectors. And finally, and most important of all to my taste, locations to view. As you can see in this case, the London admin is assigned to the London location, which basically gives him the permissions to see all objects that are currently assigned to London, whether it's an extension, coverage path, pickup group, and so on. So this is an example of our London user, and what I'm going to do at the moment, I'm going to log in with the ITMV account, log out with the ITMV account, and log in as the London UC admin. So my username would be UC London, and that will be my password. The first thing you would see that the screen layout looks different. I can see only the Users tab, the Permissions tab, Avaya, Visual Vectoring, Log, Schedule, and ACR. Under the Users tab, I can see only the London site and only the London users. So all other organizations structure, whether it's Frankfurt, Galway, or Moscow, are inaccessible for my user. Under the Avaya tab, I have a limited view of only the UC-related object, whether it's extensions. And please note that only the extensions that are currently related to London are visible for my user. Extensions from other locations are inaccessible for a London account. Same go for subscribers. I can see hunt group, coverage paths, announcements, pickup groups, and also templates. Let's take a quick look, or let's go about and take a quick look on one of the previous configured pickup groups. I'm going to double click on a group. The moment the system is actually retrieving the group information from the switch, and this is the pickup group page. I can go about and add an extension if I have the necessary permission levels. I can remove an extension, and I can see the extensions that are currently assigned to my pickup group. And if I go about and click on one of the extensions, the system will actually redirect me to the extension form so I can go about and perform changes on this extension. So we have drill-down capabilities from the pickup group page directly into the extension page. The drill-down capabilities are supported also for show usage. You have the ability of do a usage command. For example, if your extension is assigned to a pickup group, you will see it in the show usage screen. You can also drill down directly to the pickup group page. So I can manage pickup groups as the London Unified Communication Administrator. I can go about and add coverage paths. And as you can see, we can just do it quickly again. Once creating a new, coverage path, for example, I'll have the ability, I don't need to remember what's the next available coverage path number, right? So I can just use this little icon right here to get the next available number value. The system will automatically assign 1148 as the next available coverage path number, and now I can go about and choose the relevant parameters. And as soon as I hit save, we're going to go about and save that number and save that coverage path to the switch itself. So it will be London alias. The alias name would be saved to the ACCCM database, and all others would be saved to the switch itself. So as soon as I hit save, the provisioning server is connecting to the switch and saving my coverage path. Under the Visual Vectors tab, I can go about and see my visual vectors that's currently configured on the switch. This is the Visual Vector interface. It's a few quick words about the Visual Call Flow Designer. The Visual Call Flow Designer enables you to create communication manager-based vectors directly from, I'm just going to log in as a super admin user, as my users don't have the permissions to create new vectors rather than viewing existing one and updating only the time of day or the route to number step. The Visual Call Flow Designer will enable you to create communication manager-based vectors from your web browser, schedule vector changes for a specific time of day, and further on, if you go about and install Microsoft Office Visio on the ACCCM application server, you even have the option of exporting the vector itself to an Office Visio document, which is pretty cool. If I want to create a new vector, so I can choose my location. It's going to be, for example, London. The ID would be, 96. Call it intended vector. And now if I want, I can go about and design it in a graphical way using drag and drop capabilities. I would always like to start my vectors with a ring back step. So I'm going to do ring back for 2 seconds. And then I'm going to do a routing step So for that, I'm going to do a route to number step to a different number. I'm going to hit save. And as you can see, I have an option here to go about and save it to the switch, or I can only save it as a draft to the database. And then another user can go about and take a look at the draft and either approve it and save it to the switch, or make the necessary adjustments and then save it to the Avaya environment. So you can actually manage drafts for call flows, including vector numbers and description. This is in regards to the visual vector interface in ACCCM. Finally, I want to go about, we'll log in again as ITNV, again the super user, and in this scenario we're going to create a new account, which would be the administrator of the Moscow location. That administrator can access only the Moscow objects, the visual phone application, and several other objects. So, under the Users tab, what I'm basically going to do is locate the Moscow site, department, and the UC admin sting. I'm going to click plus in order to create a new account, and the first thing I want to do is to choose the profile. In my case, I want to choose UC admin as the profile. I'm going to assign this user to the ACCCM application and also the visual vector application, and also to the CM permissions. I'm going to choose the first name. It would be Moscow admin. ACCCM has another cool feature in ACCCM is the ability to administrate local languages. So if you enable the local language feature in ACCCM, in the user form you will see two new fields, the user first name and last name in local language. The local language fields would be saved to the ACCCM database, and these fields would be displayed in the UI. And of course you can use either any kind of your local language, whether it's Russian, Chinese, Hebrew, German, so on. The username would be UC Moscow. I'm going to assign the user with a password. If I want, I can force password reset on next login. And I'm going to hit save. The next thing I want to do is I want to go about and assign a permission levels to the ACCCM for my Moscow account. So under the permissions tab, I'm going to choose UC admin. And although this permission or this role is shared by all locations, London and Moscow, in this example, the visibility or the access level to specific objects would be determined by the Locations to View tab. Under the Location to View, this user would be assigned to Moscow rather than London. So I'm going to choose the relevant ACCCM permission level. I'm going to hit save. Under Groups to View, I want this user to access only the Moscow site. So just choose Moscow and hit save. Vectors to View, you can access the attendant vector. And finally, under Locations to View, you can access only Moscow. And this moment, I'm going to leave this blank or leave this empty because I want you guys to see the impact of Locations to View. So I'm going to just hit save. No Locations to View are currently assigned for the Moscow admin. And what I want to do now, I'm going to log in with the Moscow account. So UC Moscow with ITNV. So as you can see, I can see the Users tab. We're good here, but under the Avaya tab, there's nothing visible under extensions, for example. Although we know there's extensions, coverage paths, and pickup groups are assigned to Moscow. The reason the user can't see these objects because these objects are assigned to Moscow, and Moscow is not assigned to the user as a location to view. So I'm going to log out. I'm going to log in as ITNV again. I'm going to go over to the Users tab, locate my Moscow admin. And under locations to view, I'm going to assign Moscow as location. And if I log out and log in again, now under the Avaya tab, I can see the extensions, coverage paths, and pickup groups that are currently assigned to Moscow. So let's double click on one of these pickup groups. So I can see Moscow 1 as a group. And again, if I click on the number itself, I will be redirected to the extension page. And if I want, I can just go about and either manage the extension in the regular way using the CM options button, or using the visual phone to change the button assignment. Right, so we still got 15 minutes to go, folks. So what we're going to do at the moment, we're going to take a quick look under the new log portal server in ACCCM Release 7, and then we're going to switch it over for some questions and answers. So let me just quickly log out. I'm going to log in again as ITMB. I go about and click on the Logs tab. Again, folks, this is a new addition to ACCCM Release 7. If you guys are familiar with ACCCM, remember that in previous releases, the Audit tab was here. We replaced it with the Logs tab. Under the Logs tab, you can see the following main sections, whether it's Audit, CM History, or System Logs. If I choose Audit, I can see a user audit. I can see an Avaya audit for any one of my locations, and a configuration audit. For example, I can see the user, ITMV, insert a new user or update an existing one. If I go and click on the CM History tab, I will actually see the CM History output, and this output will be directly from the switch. I'm going to switch over to ASA for a second. So basically in this system, every 2 minutes, ACCCM connects to the switch and perform the list history command. We're going to take this output and save it to the ACCCM database so you can actually manage changes that were done directly on the switch. And finally, we can view system logs and filter them by the system itself, whether it's the ACCCM license usage tracker, notification server, or any other component within ACCCM. You can, of course, filter it by location. And please, folks, remember that everything in ACCCM is controlled by location assignment. So if I was to log in as the Moscow admin to this log portal, the only log entries or the audit entries that I would see are audit entries that are related to Moscow objects. All other objects would be invisible to Moscow admin, as the Moscow admin can see audit trail and system logs that are related only to his location. Everything in Control Manager would be based on the location itself. And if my user can access only Moscow, only the Moscow objects would be visible for him. All right, folks, in this part I would like to hand it over to you guys and to do a little 10 minutes Q&A session. And if time permits, we're going to do a little API and SDK overview towards the end of our 90-minute session. So if you guys have any questions, now would be a great time to do so. And if not, we can go about and do the API. And I think, I'm just seeing actually that the questions are actually being answered online by our guys. So what we can do right now is actually skip and move over to the presentation itself. And let's take a look on the API and SDK of ACCCM. So for third-party integration, as I was mentioning earlier today, we have two flavors. We'll start with the API at the moment, and we're going to switch over to the SDK. The API in ACCCM is a very extensive API that supports all actions or all transactions you can do from the UI are also supported via the ACCCM API, whether it's creating a user, assigning a user to an application, assigning a user to an extension, a subscriber, and a recording port, and so on. All of these actions can be called or triggered by the ACCCM API. And a good example would be an HR system. By the way, our API is fully documented with all the necessary methods that you guys need to call in order to activate a certain transaction. So in an API environment, a third-party system, for example, an HR system, would call to the ACCCM API as a part of its provisioning flow for a new user. And once creating the user in the HR system and other application, it would call the ACCCM API. The ACCCM API will go about and create the necessary objects, whether it's an extension, a messaging subscriber, a recording port, or a recording extension on a recording platform for my user. You can use any development language to integrate into the ACCCM API. There's no limitations there. And you can find the ACCCM API documentation available both in the ACCCM Wikipedia and the Avaya support site for Avaya Contact Center Control Manager. A second option is to integrate a third-party system into the ACCCM provisioning flow itself. As we saw in this scenario, in this example, we're actually integrating ACCCM into a nice recording platform. So once you're creating a new either user or a new extension from ACCCM, once the provisioning server of ACCCM will go about and first update the Avaya environment, the switch and the messaging platform, and create the new entity on these servers first, and then it will go about and switch over to the third-party system. In our example, NICE. It will go about and communicate with the NICE API web service and will actually trigger a transaction to go about and create a new either user or an extension in the NICE environment. And you can actually go about and also assign that user from ACCCM into a NICE group for reporting or monitoring purposes. I would like to emphasize that the ACCCM API comes out of the box with any ACCCM installation with no further cost or further charges needed. And I'm just going to quickly go back to my lab server and log into the ACCCM API. This is the API itself. So if I go to the IIS configuration, I can see a website or a web application under ACCCM API. And this is basically all of the allowed methods that you can use while calling the API. And a basic one would be add user application in row. And you can actually test it directly from here under the username and password. And here we need to provide an administrative account to the ACCCM. This specific method calls to add user application in role. Basically, you previously created a user and you now want to go back and assign that user to the application, whether it's a SIP application, right, or whether it's a messaging subscriber. You would have to input the user ID, the application ID, and the role ID. And as soon as you hit invoke, the API will go about send an XML to the provisioning server to go about and update the necessary object. Now, if you don't know what's the application ID, which is reasonable, or what's the user ID, again, totally reasonable, you can go about and call the necessary method to get an agent or a user, an agent and user in ACCCM here, to get an agent or user parameters, including the user ID or the username. Under create user, we can see the necessary parameters. Again, user first name and last name, username, password, group, profile, and extension. And basically, the API will actually gives you the ability from a third-party system to perform any action that is supported by the ACCCM UI, whether it's provisioning a new extension into an existing pickup group, removing an extension from a coverage path configuration, or even changing a class of service on a specific extension. So, at this point, and this was just again, just in a nutshell, a very quick, small overview about the ACCCM API and SDK. We're going to touch base with you guys, I believe, later on this week, and to see whether what's the demand, because we're really looking for an option to do a dedicated session for ACCCM API and SDK. And we're hoping to touch base with you guys in next few days to see if there's any demand to a dedicated API or SDK session. At this point, again, I would like to turn it over to you guys and to see if there's any questions. And if there's no questions, I'm going to do a small recap on what we discussed. And we're going to finish.
There's a question about from Isam Kazma about how to add new template for SIP in Control Manager.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
How to add a new template for SIP in Control Manager.
Certainly. So in order to add a new SIP template, for example, I want to add a new, I don't know, 9650 SIP template in Control Manager and integrate that template into System Manager and Session Manager. All I need to do is under the Avaya tab, I need to locate the Templates tab, create a new extension template, and this time I would specify under the type, so choose London first, I'm going to specify under the type whether it's a SIP endpoint or not. For example, as far as I remember, in this system I previously configured 9650 SIP endpoint. So now I can go about and choose a type. And let's see where we can find the SIP template itself. Just a few more seconds. Just need to locate, for example, whether it's 4620 SIP or 9620 SIP. I'm going to name it, I'm going to assign the relevant parameters, and as soon as I hit save, I would be able to go about and provision and assign this SIP template into a SIP user or a SIP endpoint. Do we have any other questions in regards of a UC environment in ACCCM? Feel free, guys, now would be a great time to ask. Okay, if there is no further questions, I would like to thank you all for joining today's session on how to deploy Control Manager in a unified communication environment. My name is Liran Baba, and it was a great pleasure. Thank you all, and we'll see you in future webinars. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Liran. Guys, this recording, as said before, and also the presentation will be added to the wiki website in few more days. So you'll be able to find this recording as well as the previous session that we had, I think it was last month. So please, if you didn't register by now to the Control Manager wiki, you can register anytime, and of course, after we approve your users, you'll be able to log in. So please stay tuned for next webinars. You will receive an email about the subject and the date. Thank you for joining.